Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live English show. It's been a while, and I am so happy to be back after this long break. And today, I have a really exciting episode for you. So I'm going to wait for everyone to join to say hi. I know if you have seen the live English show in the past, you know that there should be music here, but I didn't want to mess up the sound. So we're going to start with just me saying hi. Okay, so hello, everyone. Let me know where you're from in the comments. Say hi. This is me on my phone. Okay, good. So, first thing, as you know, I love connecting with you at the beginning. So, tell me where you're from and what time it is for you and what have you been doing today? Okay, there you are. Diego is here. Hello, Salma is here. Rahul, good to see you all. Good. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the live English show. So today, Oksamita from Ukraine. Hi, how are you doing? Hatem from Egypt. Hello, Isa. Good to see you all. Okay, so today I'm so excited to invite a friend. Her name is Kisma, and she is going to talk all about how to own your identity when speaking a second language. And she is not just going to talk about the language, because as you'll hear from her, the language is just something that is on the surface, that sometimes we determine our self-worth based on that, right? And she will help you understand how what is really important is not the external work, but the internal work. And I cannot wait for you to get to know her. So Kisma is a prosperity code mentor, and I'm going to invite her to tell you a little bit more about what that is. She's the founder and CEO of the Illumination Academy and the creator of the Prosperity Code. And she helps mission-driven people awaken their inner wealth intelligence and magnetize their money. So let's welcome Kisma. Hi, Kisma.
Hello, it's so great to be here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Hi, everyone.
Hello. I don't know if you can see the chat, but everyone is here saying hello.
Hi.
And very excited about
I can't see the chat, but I will do it, the chat. Hi, everyone.
exactly. Kisma, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm here in California, Carlsbad, California, which is near San Diego, and it's just a little bit after 9 a.m., which is actually late for me. I'm up super early every morning, but it's just so cool to be here and connecting with people globally. Really, I mean, I love that. I love that about technology and what it's done for us.
Every time I go live, and this is why I ask people to tell me where they're from, like I take a moment and just like acknowledge the fact that I'm able to connect with so many people at so many different time zones at the same time from around the world. It's so incredibly powerful, and I can't get enough of it. Like I'm always so grateful, and I remind myself that I can't take it for granted.
Yeah. Truly, it's really important. So yeah, excited to be here and really looking forward to see how I can support the most. And as you mentioned, I'm CEO of Illumination Academy. We really approach things from a grounded perspective, but also a very spiritual perspective. And I think that is a bit of what's unique about how I approach things. Is I'm always looking for these spiritual answers, the universal laws, but bringing them into a very practical modern day result.
Which is, I've been wanting, I told you before we started that I've been wanting for a while to introduce more spirituality into the work of language learning, because, when you learn a language, it's not just about the language, it's really like about personal development and, being a better version of yourself, because you're able to communicate and overcome barriers like language barriers. And I thought that, this is such an incredible opportunity to introduce people to you and also to your work. And I love your YouTube channel and everything that you do on Instagram. I'm going to, so you guys, if you want to follow Kisma, and you will want to definitely follow her after this interview, I put the link to her YouTube channel right below, and you can also follow her here. So that's the name
Mhm.
of the YouTube channel and her Instagram account. So, Kisma, would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do? What is a prosperity code mentor?
Yeah,
And
I help entrepreneurs and career professionals really create prosperity in all ways. So that's wealth, health, love, and spirituality. It's not just money, but money is a big piece of it because money is an energy like everything else. And I do this by helping them to understand who they really are. So we're not limited by our language, by our looks, by our pocketbook. None of that. It's really understanding there's a true self, true essence within. And when we identify with that more, things really become miraculous. And it's interesting as I'm listening to you talk, I'm having flashbacks. Like, I'm not sure if your audience probably doesn't know this, but I lived in Hong Kong for 9 years. So, and
Mm.
I did not speak Cantonese hardly at all. I knew some Mandarin, which was basically useless in Hong Kong. But my daughter, I moved there when she was 4, and she's half Shanghainese. So even Cantonese was not her native language, but she learned it on the playground. She really did. And so there would be times where, we'd get in a taxi and we'd be going somewhere. And I would say to her, "Can you tell the driver where we're going?" And she would just like, and they would be having this conversation. And I'd say, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Well, he wants to know why my Cantonese is so good. And if you're really my mother, because she is half Chinese, right?" And she looked very, and it was really funny. It's bringing back so many memories of being in that culture. And I so appreciate trying to find, like, I was really trying to find my way and identify with myself in a community where I'd walk down the street and I didn't know what anybody was talking about.
What was it, it's so I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. This is definitely something that a lot
Mhm.
of my audience or people watching this right now struggle with, because especially people who immigrated to the US or Australia
Mhm.
or UK, where they raise their kids and their kids are more fluent than them,
Right.
and speak the language, and sometimes they're dependent on them, or even
Mhm.
sometimes the kids even make fun of their English because the kids are so fluent, and then they
Mhm.
feel like they're not enough. And um, how was that experience? How did you manage to still feel, worthy even though you couldn't express
Yeah.
yourself fully?
Well, luckily in Hong Kong for me, many people spoke English. And I worked in the Hong Kong Philharmonic. That was back in the days when I was a professional flutist. So rehearsals were in English and etc. But you know what was interesting? It was when I came back to the States, the repatriation was difficult. And because all of a sudden, I would
Mm.
be in the grocery store, I'd be on the street, and I understood all the conversations. People would be on their cell phones talking. And I think, why are you talking so loud? Like, why are you sharing that in public? And then I realized for 9 years, I was walking around the streets not knowing what anyone was talking about on their cell phone.
Wow.
So it really is like this, one of the universal laws I teach is like the law of polarity. And there's both aspects to it. As well, having grown up, my entire family is Serbian. My grandparents came over from Yugoslavia. And one of the things my parents did is they wanted my grandparents wanted my parents to speak English because of that whole thing. Like, you're in the States, you need to know English. I'm sad that I didn't learn Serbian. I
Mm.
really am. And so I share that because I think, we'll think things and maybe the kids are like not feeling really confident if their parents aren't fluent. But you have to understand language is a gift, whatever language it is. And, I look at my daughter now, she speaks like 5 languages because
Wow.
she learned Cantonese when she was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And it opened up, the brain to be able to learn languages really fast.
And it's like there's also a research that shows that people who
Mhm.
speak several languages, they also have like different personalities in a good way, not in a
Yes.
schizophrenic way, right? Like, but it's
It's a
just like,
connection.
yeah,
It
it's
really
like a
is.
different part of your soul connects to
Mhm.
different languages,
Mhm.
because also, the way we think is, we think in words, and certain
Right.
languages have, certain set of words that express things in a deeper or more shallow way. So I
Yeah.
think that definitely affects how you feel or perceive yourself in a certain language.
Absolutely. I think anytime that we grow our boundaries outside of it's just me and into this, if we do get a little bit woo, it's really about the collective consciousness. There is a collective consciousness. We're all interconnected in some way. And
Yeah.
so whether we connect through a particular language or whether we connect through a smile, if you living in Hong Kong, I knew so many people from Nepal, and uh, it was incredible. There's something about the energy from Nepal where I just knew right away that person is from there. The smile, the
Mhm.
open heart, when you talk about chakras, it's like their heart chakra. And it was always this, it was always like a namaste. And that in and of itself can connect beyond words.
Yeah.
And when we feel that from someone else, and also when we give it, right? It's this thing we call the law of reciprocity. When we give that, it's going to come back. And it might not come back from the person that we're smiling at. I think we've all been there where we're at the grocery store and we're like smiling and the cashier's not having it, or they're just having a rough day, or we think we're being kind to someone and they're being mean. But through these universal laws that I teach and talk about, what we give does come back. It's just not always like we think it. And so whether, you're in a country where you are speaking the main language or not, your presence in your body, your understanding who you are and this divine nature exudes a magnetism.
Mm.
And we see it. I think we've all been at a place, maybe a party, maybe an art gallery. I mean, it's been a year, but hopefully we're getting back there, where someone's walked in the room and it's like, oh, who's that person? There's just
Yeah.
this essence. They radiate. I use this word radiate a lot, and they don't have to say a word. It's really coming, I call it syncing up the heart and the mind. And when the mind and heart are synced up and when they're dropped into their power center, it's a presence, and there's no words that actually need to be said.
Yeah. This is really it's so important to remember, because a lot of people, they define themselves based on so many, different
Mhm.
aspects. And if we were talking about language, is about the level of their vocabulary or grammar, or how many times they get stuck, or their pronunciation. And, I assign it to confidence, but
Mhm.
what you're telling me here, it's like it's magnetism. It's more than that, because
Yeah.
you can look at two different people who have, I don't believe in levels of English, right? But like, let's say
Mhm.
the same English background or capabilities. And
Mhm.
one would be like speaking confidently, and people would listen and laugh and all of that. And the other person might not open their mouth, or, constantly feel frustrated or stuck.
Mhm.
And it's really like, and they both can potentially get stuck at the same place, but one would not let it affect,
Mhm.
or like the impact would be different. And I think this is exactly what you're talking about, 'cause
Mhm.
it's like that inner,
Yeah.
uh,
It reminds me, when I was a child, I was extremely shy. So I grew up in a household speaking English. There was no reason for me not to communicate. I was extremely shy. I think it's why I started to play the flute when I was 12, 13.
mhm,
And I just that was my way of expressing. I didn't do
mm,
well in French class. When I tried to learn Mandarin, it was really rough. So I applaud anyone learning another language, and especially English, is really challenging. But the point is, there's a moment where I think, through the work that I do, when we don't feel safe, when we feel that someone is judging us, someone's not going to like us, it takes us back to a point between 0 and 7 where we felt maybe unloved or not safe. We call these core wounds. And the work that I do is always getting beyond that core wound. And it's not about blaming parents. It's a natural state. The reason our core wound exists is because we actually want to fill it with understanding who we are, which is this divine, amazing self. how I see why we're on the planet. When people say, what's my purpose? Your purpose is to really reach your full potential, to know who you are. But when we understand why we might hesitate or feel, self-conscious or take things personally, somewhere in our subconscious, it's like, oh, you're not quite safe. You're not quite safe. My wish for people, my desire for people is that that voice in your head, whatever language is being spoken in your head, oh, someone's judging you, you're not safe, move it out. I do a lot of self-talk to myself where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not doing that today. I'm not going to live worried about what someone thinks. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to move that out and I'm going to allow something greater to come through. It's very much like, we just had Gay Hendricks on our podcast, the author of The Big Leap. And one of his teachings that I love so much is when we start to think something negative about ourselves or someone else, and understand when we think it about someone else, there's a connection to ourself, move it out and just ask this question. I wonder what amazing thought is trying to find its way to me right now.
Oh, I
It's
love
such
that.
a great reframe. It's such a great reset to understand there's miracles everywhere. I believe everything's a miracle. We have to train our hearts and our eyes and our minds to see and receive the miracles. And so when we're able to be like, oh, all right, so maybe I'm not speaking perfectly, or maybe the person in front of me is not quite understanding what I'm trying to say. I wonder what amazing connection is right there for me when I get rid of that self-doubt, when I don't take it personally. I wonder what's trying to get in.
This gives me goosebumps. Like, so often we shut the door on
Hmm.
opportunities
Yeah,
because of the fear of being vulnerable, or the fear of making mistakes, or
right,
what people are going to think about us. And if you allow that, you being stuck, you making a mistake, like you reframe it as, there is something beyond what's happening here
right.
that is,
Hmm.
waiting for you to discover it. I think that gives a whole lot of permission that, like, we can't even explain it in words.
Yeah,
It's just energy, right? Like, it's
right.
more. And I always say, like, when you communicate, people are not there to look and, find your mistakes and point them out and make
Mm-mm.
fun of you. Unfortunately, there is, the reality shows that it happens, but it
Mhm.
happens so rarely. And we base our entire, beings based on those small incidents that happen to
Mhm.
other people,
Right.
or maybe happen to us in other situations. And like, we shut all those doors. So I love this,
Mhm.
what you're suggesting here.
Here's something really interesting about learning a new language. It triggers, there's something, I was surprised I'm going to talk about this, but I'm just going to go for it. There's something that we have as human beings, which is a need to be right or a need to not be wrong. Again, back to childhood, when we all think of those times when we did something and a parent or a caretaker gave us attention. We're like, oh, I need to do more of that. I need to be right. I need to be a good girl or a good boy. And it starts to build, it starts to take on momentum. And then we go to school and we're said, we're told, don't sit that way. Don't, run on the playground. Don't, like, there's all these don'ts putting us in what I call the right box. It's okay when we're trying to have children be, safe and focused, but it begins to diminish the
Mm.
human spirit.
Oh,
Because by the time we get into our teens and our 20s, and we're in this, I got to be right. And it's not a conscious thing. Again, it's a subconscious. I have to be right. Otherwise, I'm not going to be loved. Otherwise, I'm not going to be safe. That's, again, we're not necessarily thinking that. It's what's triggering our subconscious from our past. So I think this is why I was miserable at languages. When I tried to learn them, I didn't know these teachings, and I'd be like, I'm not good enough. I'm not being right. I'm being wrong. What's going to happen? I remember this anxiety in my body. That's why I'm so appreciative of any, and it was one of the reasons I just threw my daughter straight into a Cantonese school. Like, I was like, we're not messing around with, like, you're in Hong Kong, you're going to go straight
yeah.
to Cantonese kindergarten. I so wanted her to learn the languages. And I love when people dive into this, it really shows courage
Yeah.
and expression of heart. And just remember that it's okay not to be right. You can let that go.
Yeah.
And furthermore, it's like you mentioned, Hadar, sometimes other people will criticize or correct. That's, I would say 99%, it's not about you, it's about them. And so if someone's trying to, or especially if someone makes fun or does something hurtful, that's their stuff. And it's best just to be like, wow, it's sad that whatever is in that person is not very nice, and just like drop it. Other times, I think people try to correct because they're trying to help, right? They're trying to
Mhm.
supposedly control. Just be like, you know what? Like, stay in. Here's what I'm doing. I do it to the best of my ability, a smile on your face, and you will have great connection.
I love that. And like, there is so much that I want to pick into. And I want to ask you one more thing. Like, I
Mhm.
think it relates to that. And so, a lot of people, and I'm going to take 1 second because I just realized that I did not charge my computer.
Oh, okay.
And we don't want
Plug
this.
that in.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Plug that computer in. You can't have the show like stopping. Awesome. It is so great to be here with everyone. It really is.
Here,
This is
here.
such a cool conversation
Classy
about
things that
language connection. I love
happen.
it.
Yes. Okay, it's here. And I'm going to continue as you're like,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt this like beautiful message. Um, so on one hand, yes, there is this fear, right?
Hmm.
And something else that happens, and people here, you guys can share that in the comments too if you have ever felt that. Um, and I think it goes back to this idea of reciprocity, that what happens when people are afraid of being judged, but also become very judgmental of others who are trying because of that, right? And
Hmm.
they can't, um, and first, I think that it's not like it really restricts them because they constantly project what they're thinking about other people, that like they feel that
Right.
other people think about themselves.
Right.
But it's also about this idea of reciprocity where you kind of like transmit negative energy towards
Hmm.
someone else. Like,
Hmm.
why do you expect positive energy to come back to you?
So true. There's a really beautiful teaching that says observation is power, judgment is weakness. So I like to take judging out of my clients' vocabulary. We use things like assess, discern. I mean, there are levels of judging. You have to judge if like the roads are safe to go out, things like that. But when we judge other people, there's something in us that it's not quite, we haven't quite accepted ourselves. And
Mm.
so we tend to judge other people. So again, we go back to feeling right, or we feel like, well, it's a
Mm.
classic human nature, just, I don't know about all over the world, but certainly in the States, you go to the grocery store and there are these tabloids, with all the celebrities and
Yeah.
everything that's going on and wrong in their life. And you're kind of like, oh, well, if Brad and Angelina can blow up, I'm not so bad. Right. That's what we do really
Right.
quick. It's like, look at all the
It's like,
money.
where do I place
Yeah.
myself on like, the
Yeah.
scale of misery? Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, well, they're going to mess up. Okay, I got it. It's
I
it's
have permission.
trying
Yeah.
to be right. You're already right. You don't have to be right. You don't have to be anything than who you are, and really seek more of your divine nature, whatever that means in any faith. I don't teach a particular religion. I teach philosophy, basically. So it's going back to understanding there's something in the universal laws. There's something called the law of praise. The law of praise is fascinating. It means where we put our energy, our attention, our thoughts, our words grows. So I
Mhm.
talk a lot about like the mind garden. There's flowers blooming and there's weeds blooming. And if we don't pluck the weeds, we're going to water all of it. Right. Water
Mm.
is deductive in nature. It doesn't say, oh, I'm just going to water the roses over here and miss the weeds. It's just going to pour all over everything and everything grows. And so the same with our thoughts and energy. If we're just putting energy on what isn't working, where we feel less than, judging someone else, we end up seeing more of that because our vibe, so to speak, is in resonance with that. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
Yeah. I mean, let's see what people say. Hold on. Let me you guys, a lot of comments I did not okay. Does that make sense? And also, if you guys have any questions, just ask those questions and I'll ask Kisma to answer later. Yes, we have a lot of yes.
Good.
Love praise. I love that.
Hmm.
Gonna plug this. The, the law of electricity. Hold on.
Yeah, the law of electricity. I mean, this is true. Electricity is such a great example of the spiritual laws, the universal laws. It's unseen. I here's this crystal, and if I drop it, we know the law of gravity. Let me move here, is going to function because we see the results. But these other universal laws, they are in play as well, even though it's not tangible. And it's amazing when we dial this into language. It's like, even if you don't hear something, the energy is there. And I think for anyone, if we brought this
Mm.
back around for someone who's learning English as a second or third language or any language, when you communicate, think what comes out first. Is it the word? Is it my intention? Is it my heart? I really vote like lead with your heart and intention and then speak. And you're going to be shocked at how people lean into you, right? They're going to want to know, oh my gosh, what's this person have to say? This is so amazing because they feel your essence.
Ah, it's so beautiful and it's so true. And, I also work a lot with the voice. And, the
Mm,
voice is like really a manifest, like the frequencies of your inner
yeah,
being, of your soul. Like there's so
right,
much there that like, when you hear someone's voice, you can tell, where they're at and how they're feeling or
right,
what parts of themselves they're hiding.
right.
And, I always talk about the fact that when you speak a second language, there is something that shuts down, like the resonance, the sound that
Mm-hmm.
comes out here that you can, and the resonance of the voice also connects with people because it's vibrations, right?
It
Like you're
is.
talking about, like
Yes.
these are vibrations that are noticeable,
Yeah.
and and like what you said about its first love and
Like
intent, right?
intention. Yeah. Intention
Intention.
and heart. Really, intention and heart are going to be the same energy. It's like, what's your intention before you start to speak?
Yeah. Exactly, like, I think that will affect your voice first and foremost if you
Mm-hmm.
really, are there for the other person, for communicating, for expressing yourself fully, like, also giving yourself that permission to express yourself. And yes, like, even the confidence in a language is something that you acquire with
For
time. So
sure.
when you have that confidence and that energy, I truly believe that the words are like, it's so much easier for the words to arrive,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's already there, you've laid the path.
Right. Right. For sure. Just like anything, like I said, I was a flutist for years. It was very scary to walk on stage and start playing if I hadn't practiced. So,
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing to think about that. You go out in the world and you're trying to speak another language. But again, the energy behind it's just like we used to watch musicians. Someone would not be technically as proficient, but they played from the heart and it was so captivating. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, you have to go out and emote to everyone, but just like that presence of who you are, really knowing who you are, that if something isn't perfect, if you mess up something in any way, at the end of the day, you're this amazing divine self. That's what counts, is really getting in touch with that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talked about the law of praise and we talked about the
Hmm.
law of reciprocity. So,
Yeah.
and by the way, if we're talking about the universal laws, you are about to run a challenge in just a few days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Next week on the 25th. Yep.
Can you, like, before I ask you the next question, can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that? People are already
Absolutely.
asking in the comments,
It's
how
so great. It's the second time I've run this particular challenge. It's a virtual online challenge. It's called the Universal Laws Challenge, 7 laws in 7 days. So every day I'm going to teach on a specific universal law and how it applies to our prosperity, right? Whether that's wealth, health, love, or spirituality. And it's fascinating. A lot of people have heard of the law of attraction because the movie The Secret, and it's a
yeah.
beautiful bridge. The law of attraction is a subsidiary law. The main law of that is the law of vibration, pretty much what we've been talking about. Hadar is like, what's the vibration? What's the essence that you give out? because that's what you're going to attract back. So we're going to go through the law of praise, the law of thinking, the law of, oh, this one's great, the perpetual transmutation of energy. That's a mouthful. Basically, the law of energy. And we look at it that way. It's like energy, spiritual energy, source energy is coming through everyone. It's just coming straight through you. When it starts to hit these limiting beliefs or doubts, it kind of goes sideways, right? And then we express through the lens of who we believe ourselves to be. So my intention and goal for everyone is to get as clear and as appreciative of yourself as possible, so that as the energy goes through you and you're manifesting, really our thoughts are manifesting, it's clear in what you want. And there's less of those triggers and those painful moments. You're just super, super clear in alignment. So we start on March 25th. It's a free challenge. It'll be held in a Facebook group. We've already got a lot of people. We're doing videos and selfies and
I'm
things.
joining too.
It's going to be fun.
Definitely.
And our friend Laura Belgray is going to be a guest on one of the bonus days. So I run this challenge. This is the second time. It's once a year for this particular teaching, and hands down, it's a wealth of information. So I'm really excited to do it.
I'm gonna link to it below, but Kisma's website is already in the description or the post if you're watching this on Facebook. So it's on her website. You just need to sign up, and then you'll get all the information. So you're gonna cover the 7 universal laws, right?
Yeah, there's many laws, right? But
Right.
the main ones, we're going to talk about the law of forgiveness, law of praise, law of vibration, of
Because they're
abundance.
gonna taking into consideration that they're gonna join the challenge and like learn more about that. Can you now make the connection between some of like a few more laws and the struggle that we are discussing here?
Yes. One of my favorite laws is called the law of polarity. And the law of polarity states that whatever is in existence now, the exact opposite exists. So we know this, like the table that I'm sitting at, whether, if it's 30 inches down to the floor, it's 30 inches up. We see this in light and dark, hot and cold. We see it in nature all the time. The law of polarity is an amazing, when you work with it, I use this phrase, work with it, think like it. It means when you're going through something that could be challenging, we remember that the exact opposite exists, which means that within a difficult situation, there is a gift. We just have to be willing to look and seek it, because the universe is based on duality. So as well, if there's something that you desire and you don't have it, like being able to speak at a certain level, of a language, of English or any language, and right now it's not happening, the exact opposite exists. It's just, we need to move towards it and allow it to come in. Of course, it takes practice and skill and being out there, but that can happen. So the law of polarity is incredible. Also, the law of forgiveness. Oh, this one's so good.
I can
It is.
already tell
I
how
know.
much, like there's a lot of room for that in the work
Oh
that
my
we do.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's truly, when we truly forgive self and others, and we'll have processes to go through, there's a completeness that settles in. That's when we wake up in the morning like, I'm really excited for the day. I can do this. That's when confidence, like, remember, a lack of confidence is because somewhere we think we've done something wrong or we're not good enough. And then we beat ourselves up for it. No,
Yeah.
we need to forgive and let go. And that really does work through the law of forgiveness.
I think that really, I don't know if that relates to the law of forgiveness. Maybe you can kind of like direct me more, but when maybe it's not exactly that, but like when we are either angry at other people or
Mm.
envious at other people, like if we're bringing it
Mhm.
to the language, I don't know if forgiveness is the right thing, but like for me, when I feel intimidated
Yeah.
by someone's presence, or if I get really angry because someone wronged me, the initial experience is to have that negative
Right.
fierce energy, and like a lot of times what I really try to do is just send them a lot of love, even though I'm angry, even though even if
Mhm.
they're doing things that
Mhm.
go against my beliefs, because I think that um that helps me be in a better place. And I
Right.
think that when people like, because there's a lot of envy, like language envy. Oh, why are they, you know,
That's great.
able to do this and I can't?
Yeah.
And we've started, yeah. So
Ooh,
maybe,
so much there. First off, I always say, when we're envious of someone, why do we want to give them our power? When we resent someone, when we don't, forgiveness is for us. It's not in the way I look at it too. It's not even for God. Like God, universe, spirit, source, whatever word you use, is all loving, is good all the time. We forgive for ourselves. And because otherwise we're carrying a burden. It's like if someone has that phrase, if you have a really horrible enemy and you're just wanting to poison them, it's like you might as well drink the poison yourself. It's going to deplete.
yeah,
So it's being able to forgive and release. This doesn't mean that you roll over if someone's doing something wrong or hurting you or illegal, obviously. But there's something really fascinating about the law of mind action. Again, where your thoughts go, you're increasing that. And so we kind of want to decide, like, our time here is limited. Where do we want to focus? What do we want to attract? And is it really going to be around creating more events and attracting more people to resent? Or do we want to let that go, like really release it and focus on what are the events we can appreciate? What are the people that we connect with and love, and seek that because they're there? Just as if we will say praise is the law of increase, complaining is the law of decrease. It's a
mm,
good one.
yeah. Amazing. So, like, yeah, I wasn't very far off for connecting the law
No,
of forgiveness with,
totally. The law of forgiveness.
yeah,
The
everything
other
that,
thing people will
yeah,
find is all the laws work interchangeably. That's the really cool thing. Once, when you get into the law of forgiveness, you understand you're using the law of praise as well. You're using the law of thinking, the law of energy. They all come together like these spokes in a wheel. It's nearly impossible, and the overarching is cause and effect, right?
yeah,
Everything has a cause and an effect. And the really beautiful piece of this work is understanding we are the cause for so much that happens. And that can be overwhelming. People are like, no, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for it.
mm,
Just kind of take a breath and be like, well, what would happen if you started to ask for what you really want? What would happen if you put out through your thoughts and your words and your heart what it is you really want? You're going to be shocked at the things and the different opportunities that show up. And when, in terms of language and learning, when you're focused, when you really see yourself, you know what? I'm going to speak this language beautifully. You see yourself like that. You will speak up more. You'll praise yourself more when it goes well, and you'll try more rather than the image of, oh, it's never going to work. I'm not good enough.
yeah,
Those two images are, polar opposites. You want to see yourself like, I'm actually doing a great job here. And that will lift your energy and lift your confidence.
yeah. Exactly. Like a lot of times when I start working with people or when I have my workshops, I ask them, what would you like to achieve? And, I want to be fluent or I want
Hmm.
to, not get stuck. It's very, very, um, it's still on the surface because ultimately,
Hmm.
what do we want, right? Like, what do we
Yeah.
want when we want to own a language? It's not just to be fluent. That's not the end goal. The end goal
Yeah.
is to reach new places. And I'm not talking geographically, but like, as a human being, it's like
Yeah.
fulfill your true self or discover, like find your purpose,
Yeah.
right? And your self-worth and,
Hmm.
have these opportunities, whether it's
Hmm.
work
Yes.
or relocation or have that available to
Yeah.
you. And be yourself with other people because a lot of times people feel like they're compromising their authenticity and true
Mm.
being because they're not able to express themselves
Yeah.
in a new
Hmm.
language. So
Yeah.
ultimately it is about energy, right? It is about the energy that
Totally.
we put out and we receive from other
Hmm.
people in the universe. So that is one thing. So I always encourage people to really understand what their real why is.
Yeah.
It's not just about, having more words at your disposal.
Right.
And the second thing is that I always try to get them to imagine like that impossible goal because,
Mm,
you want to create that opportunity or that possibility in your head. And it really takes a lot of practice. And I'm sure you've seen that. And maybe you
yeah.
can give a few suggestions on how to deal with it. That like the immediate image that comes to people is like very, I just want to be able to speak. And they don't think about, I want to speak in front of like 10,000 people in a big room. That doesn't even,
Mhm.
that's not even a possibility for them. So how would you encourage the people that you work with and the people who are
Mhm.
going to be in the challenge to really leave like those limitations that they've already the mental limitations they've
Right.
created for themselves?
It's important because the concept of self is so important. There's a teaching, as you believe yourself to be, so you are. And why not believe whatever you're starting out, whether it's a language or a business or a relationship, why not believe that you're successful at it? Success has different, ladders or rungs up the ladder. And we tend to think it has to be absolutely perfect to be successful. No, it's the entry and it's the dedication, of course, to it. But I always say, have that constant, consistent knowing who you are. Never make yourself wrong. Guilt and shame have to go away. Guilt and shame are useless for human beings. Obviously, if we do something that hurts someone, we make amends, right? But this whole thing of I'm doing something wrong or I'm a bad person, this is not why we're here. We're here to thrive. We're here to be successful. We're here to learn other languages if we have the courage, to do so and to do it with an open heart and to feel excited about it. Never make yourself wrong. The other piece I always share about in terms of like manifesting, this word manifesting is shaping your reality, creating, attracting what you want. I always look at I call it the mind's eye right up here as like a slide. It's a lens. It's a lens of how you see the world. And one of the things my teacher in India at the Vedanta Academy taught me, I think I've been going there for over 13 years, Swami Parthasarathy. He said, life is a series of experiences. Our perception of those experiences create the quality of those experiences. And so the quality of the experiences will determine the quality of our life.
Mm.
So if every day we're willing to redirect and lift up the quality of every experience, something is a little bit sticky, don't take it personally, move on. Every problem has a solution to it. It's that's another law. If there's a problem, there's an unfolding solution. And just really see in the lens of your mind's eye who it is you want to be, how you want to show up, and what you want to create. That vision in the mind's eye and the gratitude is so important in the heart, really gives it an energy. And I wouldn't be surprised if people just start learning their language faster if they really saw themselves do it without the doubt, right? Just like, yeah,
Absolutely.
here I am. Because
Yeah.
when you mess up, it's like, oh, what's the big deal? And you're back, like,
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to do.
That is so true. Like, I feel that we need to teach
Mm-hmm.
teachers that like help that, that introduce the language for the first time. Like the biggest problem, in my opinion, is that they teach it as if English is binary, like there is right and wrong,
Yeah.
which is so
Mm-hmm.
not true because you can, say the same thing in different tenses and different words and
Right.
different, structure. But they teach you that like if you do it right, you get the points. If you don't, you lose the points. There's no freedom. And
Mm-hmm.
then there is like this understanding as if mistakes are you can't make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And the moment you make someone feel like making a mistake is bad, you've killed their,
Right.
the opportunity for fluency because you become fluent when you have the freedom to make mistakes because you learn through those mistakes because
Right.
you need to celebrate mistakes and not just in language, in everything.
Everything. Everything.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we don't grow. On the other side of mistake is a moment of brilliance. I always say, look at Steve Jobs and how many iPhones they released before they got it right, and even now, how many operating systems come out and there's bugs and hacks.
right.
Come on, we're like a higher operating system than the iPhone. So I think we're allowed to mess up, like and just okay and reset. Life is too short to focus on the mistakes. Like it just isn't worth it. It's again, it's going back to that core wound of needing to be right and the whole thing. I just say
Yeah.
drop it. don't go down that, like, own the courage. Like, it just overwhelms me, people that are willing to dive into other languages, because I was never really good at it. And I remember my French teacher, in the seventh grade, like, ooh, there was no way I was going to try, because every time I did, I was wrong. you know,
Oh
so
God.
yeah.
What would you tell, like, how would you instruct people or guide people to
Hmm.
deal with trauma? For example,
Mm,
like, if people had that experience as a
hmm.
child or even as an adult where they felt ashamed or
Yeah.
humiliated because of language
Yeah.
or self-expression, how
Yeah.
would you help them overcome this?
Oh, there's so many ways here. Overarching is the awareness that this is what it is. It was a trauma, and it was in your past. And it can show up through the subconscious. When we understand the subconscious is trying to protect us, it's trying to keep us familiar. And so when we start to do healing work, and when we start to advance and move out of the trauma, the subconscious mind is actually like, wait a minute, you need to come back here, because this is what you deal with. This is what you know how to do. And so it's a personal decision to be like, I'm going to step out of the trauma and into healing, and it's safe to do so. I think that is very important to remind ourselves, it's safe to heal. It's safe to heal.
Safe to heal.
Because interestingly enough, the subconscious is saying, no, it isn't. It's safe to stay right where you are. So it's the awareness of that it was an event, it was in the past. And now you get to, like, clean slate every day to really love self, appreciate self, and move forward. In my YouTube channel, I've got some really good meditations. One is a healing meditation. One is how to stop negative thinking. There's something called Twin Hearts, which is, I'm really big on the energy and the healing of trauma, because trauma does stick in your energy body. That's another reason why we can think our way out of it. But when it's in the energy body and the subconscious, it's like we'll get pulled back in, and then we don't understand why.
Mm.
So it's really having that, it's safe for me to heal. It's safe for me to be different, and having that vision. And then if you can, if anybody does really have something that's harming and they can't let go of, look for those meditations, because they're really phenomenal. And we'll be doing some interesting processes in the challenge as well.
Yeah, so for those of you who joined, first of all, like the YouTube channel is right here, and this is Kisma's Instagram account, and the challenge, we're gonna link to it in the description. But
Yeah.
if you go to her website, or even I
Mhm.
think on Instagram,
On
you have it
Instagram,
in
I
your
just
bio.
posted, yeah, today. It's all good. Yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah,
No
so you can
problem.
find
Mhm.
you can see how to join the challenge. But like,
Mhm.
I'm really really interested in or I'm inviting people to explore those meditations because I think that it's so a shame that there is this perception that
Yeah.
all the spiritual stuff is for certain people and it's not
Mhm.
part of the work that we do. Yet, I know it has helped me incredibly in, how I show up as a creator
Mhm.
for sure.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
understanding more about the universal laws and
Yeah.
also including that into my work. So I do it, I talk about
Yeah.
mindset and I talk about other
Yeah.
things, but ultimately it's all about energy. So I do think that there's a lot more room into that, so
Mhm.
it's great that you've shared.
I always say to people, again, this isn't about a particular religion. I never tell people, I use the word universal law, spirit, God, source, energy. It's, to me, it's all. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. I don't think we can escape that. I
Yeah.
don't think, when you're and this is something that might help. When you're in Mother Nature, you see miracles everywhere, and you see healing everywhere. You see abundance everywhere. We forget we're part of nature. We're part of
Yeah.
nature. And just by being born human, we have this most exquisite talent to and gift to choose and to love and to have devotion. The devotion isn't for God or universe. God doesn't need our devotion. We need to devote. We
Mm.
need to get closer to the source of all things. And that's another universal law, just to kind of wrap it up. One of the most powerful is the law of
Yeah.
supply. Everything comes from the same supply. I remember when the pandemic started and I saw Deepak Chopra, who I just think is so cute and amazing. And on Instagram, he's like, know your supply. And I was like, that's it, focus on your supply. That gratitude shifts everything. And interesting for learning another language, gratitude allows, just be grateful for yourself. Be
Yeah.
grateful for your amazing teacher here, everyone, because it allows you to get to the next higher thought and
Yeah.
out of the worry thoughts. When we're in gratitude, we can't have gratitude and worry in the same mind,
Yeah.
in the same heart.
Yeah. Kisma, you've given us so much. Like, I feel I need to watch this in repeat, and I hope everyone here does that
Oh,
too,
thank you.
because this has been really, really,
It's
like,
so fun to
so
be here.
insightful.
Thank you. It's the
Yeah.
first time like I've done this kind of streaming. I do a lot on Instagram and Facebook, but wow, this is a great platform. What a
We've
great
had,
show.
like,
I'm going to be tuning
300
in.
people watching
Ah,
this
good.
consistently, and, so many
Mhm.
comments. People are loving this, so I
Good.
wish, afterwards you can go and see it.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Anything else? Like, okay, so again, tell us where we can find you and talk about the challenge, and any final tips
Yeah.
that
I
you'd
mean,
like to share?
website is great. Kismawake.com, KISMAAWAKE.com. It's right on the banner, the Universal Laws Challenge. Instagram's a great way to connect with me. I'm on there every day. And I would love to see you in the challenge if it's right for you. If not, I encourage everyone, grab, it really is, the power is now. Eckhart Tolle wrote that book. I saw the title and I was like, yep, that's it. I got it. Like, it is in
Mhm.
the now, and you get to choose um, who it is you desire to be. Love yourself, embody the courage that you have to learn a different language and to do your best at it. And know that the essence that you give out, you're going to attract it back. And I think that's really the piece where we start to either close doors to things, whether it's mindset, emotions, beliefs, and open doors to the miracles, the most amazing thoughts that are trying to make their way in, and live life every moment, every single moment. We really do have to seize the day.
Oh, so beautiful. Kisma, thank you so much, and
Thank you for
everyone.
having me.
And I, we should do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, because I think there is, like, so much more to
Hmm.
unpack.
Hmm.
Again, go follow her on subscribe to her channel on YouTube. I'll put it up here again. Now, if you guys have questions or you'd like to share your experience or anything, like, write it in the comments. I will be there definitely. Kisma, you can
Okay.
send her a DM on Instagram, and definitely find her on next week's
Yeah.
challenge. So, Kisma, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.